Today on Across the Fence, we're exploring the growing popularity of raising chickens. Our topic is chick care for first-time poultry owners. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us Across the Fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. In urban and suburban backyards across the country, there's a growing interest in raising chickens. So today we're starting from scratch, so to speak, to learn the basics. Joining me is UVM Extension 4-H educator Martha Manning. Martha has extensive experience in all aspects of chickens, from selection and care to coops and breeding. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So if I'm a first-time interested poultry owner, what should I consider before ordering or purchasing chicks?
So what I would recommend is that before you jump into purchasing or ordering chicks, that it's important to note that raising chicks, it's not for everyone, and that you need to have a space, and that it's an investment, a significant investment in your time and your money. So you may want to stop and think about it before you do that. And even as you decide maybe you'd like to have some chicken, it's important to do a little research and see if your community and your neighbors are ready for you to have chickens as well.
Very good point. So if my community permits it and I want to do this, tell me about a little basic vocabulary so I understand what I'm getting into.
This isn't really a test, but it's important to have the basics before you start ordering or buying chicks.
Sure.
So straight run chicks are a mixture of male and female chicks. So they're unsexed chicks.
So you don't know what you got.
You don't know what you got. You may have a lot of females, you may have a lot of males. You don't really know what you're getting. So if you were to purchase straight run chicks, you also need to go back to what we talked about before, do a little research with your community to make sure that roosters, the males, are allowed, because some communities don't allow that because of noise ordinances, and also be considerate of your neighbors. The other ones we need to think about is pullets. Pullets are female birds that are less than 1 year old.
Okay, so they turn into these pullets. Those are the chicks become
exactly.
Pullets.
Most people that are wanting layer birds want pullets because those are the ones that are going to lay the eggs. You don't need a rooster to get eggs.
Okay.
Cockerels, those are males birds less than 1 year old. So they're the young males, and they can still crow at not an extremely young age, but before they're fully grown, they will start crowing, and your neighbors might not like it. You will notice. Cocks or roosters, those are male birds, and these can be either meat-laying type birds or layer-type birds, and those are mature males, and they are those males that are more than 1 year old.
Okay.
And our final one is hens. Those are female chickens that are more than 1 year old. And it's important to know these words so that if you're looking on some online sites, you would actually know what you're buying.
What you're getting.
Right.
And hens, of course, keep laying for how many years?
Well, it depends how many eggs you'd like. Their peak production is from about when they start laying, and for some birds, they start laying at different ages, but if they were to start laying around 20 weeks, that first year is their most productive.
Oh, okay.
So the second year they'll lay a little less, and then it kind of declines yearly.
Okay. So what's a likely source for my chicks? How do I get them?
Well, in this area, a common source is there's many feed stores or other stores that may sell chicks right there in the store. Vermont law says that you need to purchase a minimum of 6, and that's so that people aren't just kind of purchasing them as a pet and then not have the ability to take care of it. So you'd need 6. And then you can also purchase chicks through hatcheries, and those are then shipped express mail through the mail, and they're generally shipped when they're less than a day old. And normally you're going to get a call from your post office, and they're going to say, come get your chicks. They're not going to deliver them to your house.
Right.
You're going to need to pick them up at the post office. And the hatchery is going to give you a fairly close estimate on the day that they will arrive. And so you need to have everything all set up for them and be ready to go to the post office.
And they survive shipping in the mail? And
They
that's
do
always amazed me.
They do survive because right before they hatch, they absorb what's called the residual yolk up through their umbilical cord. And that is their source of nutrients for the first 1 to 4 days.
Well, that's great.
But it's also important when they arrive at the post office and you go there, open the box at the post office. And then if there's any problems, you can share that with the postmaster. You can go home and call your hatchery and let them know.
Sure. That's great. So should you feed the chicks as soon as you bring them home and you put them in a brooding area? Should you start feeding them right away?
When you want your brooding area set up before you get your chicks so that it's kind of warmed up, that brooding area is the area that's going to provide them heat and warmth, similar to what a mother hen would in a natural environment. So you want that all set up.
So yeah, so their housing. Let's talk about what we need.
As a source of heat, many people use a heat lamp. This is a heat lamp with a red bulb. Heat lamps can be extremely dangerous. They are very, very hot. As you can see, that's a 250-watt bulb. And so you're going to need to adjust the height of that above your brooding area by watching your chicks. If they all are like way to the outside of the brooding area, it means that it's too hot. If they're all huddled up in a pile, they're too cold.
Got it. Huh. Great.
Now, there's this new thing called a heat plate. They've been around a few years. They have adjustable legs. And the baby chicks are going to go underneath here, similar to what they would go underneath a hen. This heat plate is very energy efficient, and it only heats to about 100 degrees. So there's much less of a danger of fire with a heat plate. They come in several different sizes, but they're a new way of being more energy conscious and more aware of fire safety.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Those are awesome. Huh.
So once we have our chicks in our brooding area, and we've got that all set up before they get there, it's important that as we take them out of the boxes that they immediately are watered. And most people
more important.
like to just dip the beaks of each individual chick in the water to be sure that you're getting them hydrated after they've been in the male for anywhere for potentially anywhere from 1 to 3 days.
Oh my.
So we've got several different styles of waterers.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And if you have like bantam chicks or really small chicks, you may take and put like marbles or colored stones in there so that the chicks can't actually get their whole body into the water.
Okay, got it.
And potentially drown. They can just get their beak in to get a little drink.
Okay.
And just always keep your waterers clean. Take them out, scrub them before you would put those back.
Right. Great. So several sizes, depending
area.
on how many chicks you have.
Depending how many chicks you have.
Okay.
But you still want to change it daily.
Okay, great. So what kind of bedding? So and then there's feed. So when do you start feeding them?
You're going to feed them the same day.
Oh, okay.
But you want to get them on the water first. You're going to check with your feed store. There's several types of chick starter, and it's called chick starter and that has a different nutrient balance than say a chick grower or a layer feed that you would use later when they're more mature.
Okay, great.
So work with your feed dealer on that.
And bedding, what kind of?
You don't want something really fine like fine sawdust because chickens, being chickens, not the smartest animal in the world, at first they might eat fine sawdust. So maybe something more like bedding, but you want them to have proper footing so that they don't end up with splayed legs, which is when their legs kind of go in two different directions. You want them to have something with good footing.
Okay. Okay. And are there health issues to watch for?
So young chicks, as we all know, they're pretty tiny. They can be susceptible to something that's called pasty bug, which is caused by when they're kind of stressed. And if you look at the back end of the chicken, as the feces leaves the bird, it might stick on the back of them. And then that is going to block the vent. And you want to be able to wipe that off with a moist cloth to keep that area open so that they can defecate properly.
Okay. And then, so they're watered, they're fed, we've provided this warm space. What else do we need to think about?
You're going to want to just watch your birds and monitor the temperature of that area. You know, be observative, see if they're healthy and acting the way they should, drinking enough water so they're hydrated. And I think it's important that you keep that brooding area clean, especially if you start these in your house. You're going to have a lot of dust. There's ways to set up a little filter system so that your house doesn't get really dusty. Right now it's a little too cold to have them out in a barn or a garage even.
Right. So is there a separate place for egg laying, or
Well, your chicks are going to be separate from your mature birds until they
Of course.
are pretty well grown before you mingle them together.
Got it. Any other thing we should think about after the first week or two?
I think by that time, these birds are going to grow fast. So be sure you have a plan as to how you're going to transition them into different types of housing as they grow to meet the space needs of the type of bird you have.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like this is really doable for people who want to do this, but they have to really think about the commitment.
This is
right?
doable. You just need to do a little planning.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Martha. This is it's very exciting. People can do this and get their chicks in the mail. And is this a good time of year, actually?
This is a good time of year. It's a real common type of year for people to start chicks. Layer birds would be laying by late fall. And always remember, we have people here at UVM Extension. Give us a call if we can be of assistance.
Okay, awesome. Martha Manning, thank you so much for joining us and stimulating us to get a few chicks in our backyard. Thank you so much. And once again, thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard.